coronavirus pandemic. Such attitude, he says, must be replicated in dealing with insurgency and banditry.
Those who are heading these agencies, especially the service chiefs, must sit up. They must sit up. In fact, we must have milestones and timelines on how we are going to deal with this. We can't just go on without any time frame for dealing with these issues. If after we provide some support and someone is found short of expectation, he should be shown out of the way if he refuses to go. Because the lives of Nigerians are so precious and therefore must be more important than any other consideration or sentiment.
On the sideline, President Muhammadu Buhari and the Senate President discussed the crisis in the ruling APC party.
By the grace of God, in a very few days, we will see certain actions that will be taken. The situation must not be allowed to degenerate further than it has. And I believe that we must go into our constitution, the constitution of our party, and see how we are to address this. But we must not allow the situation to continue as it is today.
The meeting between the President and the Senate President lasts for about an hour. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
And to other issues, President Muhammadu Buhari congratulates Nigerians as the country becomes wild polio virus free. He also appreciates partners, local and international, for their relentless efforts in ensuring the Clean Health Bill. In a statement signed by the Senior Special Assistant to the President of Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, the President says this achievement is not only one of the great successes of this generation of Nigerians, but also a pride of his administration, which has been consistently investing in the health of Nigerians. The President notes that the polio-free status is a hard-won battle spanning over 3 decades and dedication by all stakeholders. And Lagos is our first stop on Nationwide, where we join my namesake Ruth. Ruth, you're on.
Thank you, Ruth. Smooth motoring has been restored on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway following many hours of heavy traffic jam on that route as a result of an accident involving articulated vehicles on Kara Bridge. Imole Ayotokede brings details.
Efforts by traffic officials have yielded results as they have been able to move the affected trucks off the accident scene, making way for free flow of vehicles. The federal road safety officials are still on ground to control the traffic situation.
Our priority then was to keep the road free for movement. That's why we had to make sure that all the carcasses of the vehicles were removed first before we go into any other thing, and the evacuation was done accordingly.
Akim Abdul Salam and Sani Lawal are transporters who fly Lagos to Kano and Kaduna respectively. Are you going anywhere now?
Yes, now we are able to load.
I could have loaded and go back to Kaduna yesterday, but I couldn't get the chance to go back yesterday. It is now I'm expecting my turn.
Aside the loss of lives and other damages, the bridge was also seriously affected. For now, post-crash assessment is ongoing to ascertain the real cause of the crash to guard against reoccurrence. In Lagos, Imole Ayotokede, NTA News.
And away from transportation, the maritime sector is working on an empowerment scheme that will gainfully engage Nigerian youths and make them self-sufficient, thereby reducing the rate of crime in the country. At a media briefing in Lagos, practitioners from the industry recounted the progress made since President Muhammadu Buhari signed into law the anti-piracy law. Michael Olaleye reports.
It's exactly 1 year that President Muhammadu Buhari signed into law the Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offences Act 2019. Since it became operational, 27 arrests have been made, fine issued to violators, while 156 personnel have been trained on the enforcement of the anti-piracy law. It is a feat boosted with the deployment of more machineries for the takeoff of the Deep Blue projects.
We have already achieved over 85%. We almost finished the supply of the platforms now. What remains now is the local components, that is the training of human elements. Because day in, day out, we have the platforms, air special mission aircraft. We have 2 already. We received them. We have special helicopters, 3. They are about to arrive here in January 2021.
With security comes the huge investment opportunities, which coincide with the mandate of the industry to develop shipping and ensure that the floating dock acquired in 2018 generates 1 billion naira monthly, in addition to the quest to empower ship owners under the Cargo Financing Fund.
Our aim is to make sure that we make the funds available to the stakeholders at affordable price. What we need to do now is to converge with the entire committee, review what we did, and now submit it to the Honorable Minister for onward transmission to the National Assembly for the necessary amendment. We hope between now and October this year to start disbursing this fund.
Integrating the Navy's Falcon Eye surveillance infrastructure with the C4I and C3I operational centers are initiatives that will complement the anti-piracy law to end criminalities in the Gulf of Guinea. In Lagos, Michael Alale, NTA News.
And that's it from here. Ruth is waiting in Abuja to bring us more stories after this break.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
Drug abuse and illicit drug trafficking is the focus this week on NTA Tuesday Live. What are the best practices and challenges in tackling the ills? What are the success stories in Nigeria as the world looks forward to the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Drug Trafficking? Join us on NTA Tuesday Live at 10:30 p.m. for this and more. Don't miss it.
Babalola University at Duekiti, Abward, sympathizes with its alumni, undergraduates, prospective students, and parents over the closure of schools due to coronavirus pandemic. As we await the lifting of ban on schools, Abward has put in place an elaborate arrangement to guarantee the safety of staff and students as they return. And this includes the provision of soap and water dispensers, infrared thermometers, disinfectant sanitary cabin, motorized modular fumigator, PCR machine, RNA extraction kits, COVID-19 test kits for antigen and antibody, nose masks, biosafety cabinet, a holding bay, and all other accessories to prevent COVID-19 infection and spread. At Abward, the health and safety of staff and students are our priority. Abward, a vision in action.
NTA2 College Jos, an affiliate of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, is currently admitting students for its ordinary diploma programs in television journalism, television production, and television engineering. Interested candidates are advised to obtain relevant information concerning eligibility at our website at www.ntatvc.edu.ng or marketing department of any NTA station nationwide. For further information, contact Assistant Director Marketing NTA2 College Jos on 0803-314-4383 or the Academic Office of the College on 0806-980-9807. Announcer, Registrar.
Wetin be this coronavirus thing? Na true?
You see this coronavirus wey be COVID-19. Na the whole world palava, and e don dey kill many people for China, Italy, UK, US, Spain, and even for other countries dem.
Okay, wetin come be the reason wey dem say make everybody tanda for house?
Na because if e dey waka pium go carry am from person wey don get am, you go carry come give your family dem. Na so the thing take dey kill other people for other countries.
Okay, wetin come be that social distancing sef?
You see social distance. Now make we no come close because this thing na from air and touch now we dey contact am. We suppose dey at least 6 foot away from each other every time.
So okay, no be only to wash your hand and to sanitize them alone.
Make we no take this washing of hand thing take play but make we come together, join hand as we take pursue Ebola, pursue this coronavirus. Make we be each other keepers now.
Thanks for staying tuned. All contentious issues threatening to undermine unity and cohesion within the governing All Progressives Congress will soon be resolved. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari, who gave the assurance while granting audience to the Progressives Governors Forum, expressed optimism that the party will emerge stronger. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has details.
The meeting between President Muhammadu Buhari and the Progressives Governors Forum, represented by its chairman and governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Bagudu, as well as his counterparts from Plateau and Jigawa states, was in response to the crisis rocking the APC. Facing governorship elections in 2 states before the end of the year, the governing party had within the last 1 week lost the governor of Edo State and the deputy governor of Ondo State to the opposition party and are expected to participate in the polls. The national chairman of the party, Adams Oshomole, had also been suspended following a judicial decision. The meeting held behind closed doors discussed the best way forward in the interest of the governing party and indeed the administration.
The reason for our visit is to discuss with him as our party leader, as the leader that millions of Nigerians trust, party issues and the position of the progressive governors to support all steps to unify and bring about peaceful resolution in our party, the All Progressive Congress. And Mr. President listened attentively and discussed with us as a father, as a party leader. And it gave us all the assurance we needed to know that resolution of contentious issues will soon be arrived at.
Governor Atiku Bagudu appreciated the genuine concerns being expressed by the APC family members and indeed Nigerians over the crisis, assuring them that President Muhammadu Buhari is equally worried and committed to finding lasting solutions.
At all times, Mr. President have shown that he's a Democrat. He's not running the party. Yes, he's the party leader. He allows party organs to do and decide what should be done. He's very, very hesitant to use his standing, even as party leader, talk less of his authority as Mr. President and of the country to direct things. But at all times, he has been alive to the issues, and with the level of detail he have about all what is happening and the number of people he has listened to and heard, I believe whatever needs to be done, including the possibility of calling any organ of the party that is necessary to the resolution of lingering issues will be done immediately.
President Buhari had last Sunday discussed similar issues with the Senate President Ahmed Lawan. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In a related development, reports just reaching us says Pastor Osage Izeyamu has emerged candidate of the APC primary election in Edo State. He polled 27,838 to beat Dr. Pius Odabo. We'll bring you the details in our subsequent bulletin. Let's now head to Sokoto to join Abdurrahman to bring us more reports on Nationwide.
Hello, Ruth, and welcome to Sokoto. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture has conducted the 2020 aerial spray of pesticides to control the invasion of quilla beds at Bakalori irrigation scheme in Bakura, Maradun and Talata Mafra local government areas of Zamfara state. The exercise is to avoid imminent loss of crops in the affected areas. Sadia Abubakar Sunau has more.
Quail beds have over the years been the major challenge of rice and sorghum farmers at Bakalori irrigation scheme that covers Bakura and Maradun local government areas of Zamfara state. The aerial spray of pesticides is therefore aimed at curtailing the invasion of the birds, thereby averting their devastating effect on the crops. Zamfara State Governor, represented by the State Commissioner for Agriculture and Natural Resources, Dr. Aminu Suleiman Erkufoji, who flagged off the aerial spray exercise, applauded the federal government for the timely intervention aimed at preventing losses for the 2020 dry season famine in the area. The Zonal Director, Pest Control, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, in charge of Sokoto, Kebbi and Zamfara State, Zia Umakeri, implored the Zamfara State government to supplement the effort through the provision of additional flight hours, pesticides and logistics for wider coverage of the state with a view to protecting more farmlands as part of effort to achieve food security. Some of the benefiting farmers expressed their gratitude to the federal government for the intervention, expressing optimism that they would record bumper harvest this year. In Gusau, Sadia Bakartuno, NTA News.
Stakeholders in Kebbi State have resolved to work towards providing enabling laws to deal with all forms of violence against women. This came to the fore when the National Council of Women's Society, Kebbi State Chapter, staged a peaceful rally on the need to end emerging cases of rape and other forms of violence against women. Nuratanko Akili reports.
Women in Kebbi State, led by the National Council for Women's Societies, in collaboration with other civil society organizations and the labor, lending their voices to stop all forms of gender-based violence. They were unanimous on the intensity of the recent horrific experiences of women across the country and the need for the Kebbi State House of Assembly to domesticate the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act passed into law by the National Assembly in 2015.
We are mothers, and our children belongs to us, not to rapists. And they are fathers. Nobody will be happy to see his child, his daughter being raped.
You are the lawmakers. We want you to implement and take action as appropriate.
The State Assembly and the representative of the executive arm emphasized the timeliness of the agitations and the need for groups to harmonize their positions for necessary action.
We want to assure you that the Kebbi State House Assembly will do everything in its powers to see that a law is promulgated against rape and other sexual violences.
Other interest groups were also at the Kebbi State House of Assembly to press home their demands to end all forms of gender-based violence. In Birnin Kebbi, Nuratanko Akili, NTA News.
That's it from here. It's back to Ruth in Abuja for continuation of Nationwide. In Abuja for continuation of Nationwide. In Abuja.
Welcome back to Abuja. Let's give you update on COVID-19. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control has announced 436 new cases and 12 deaths of COVID-19 in Nigeria. The country now has 20,244 confirmed cases of COVID-19, 6,879 cases discharged and 518 deaths recorded so far in 35 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The 436 new cases are reported from 19 states, with Lagos having 169 cases, Oyo 52, Plateau 31, Imo 29, Kaduna 28, Ogun 23, FCT and Enugu have 18 cases each, Bauchi 17, Bayelsa 14, Rivers 8, Osun and Kano 6 each, Edo and Benue 5 each, Adamawa 3, Borno 2, while Abia and Ekiti have 1 case each. All right, let's head to a Benin Network Center to join Agatha. I'm sure we want to hear the update on the APC primaries. Let's join her now.
Thank you, Ruth. Good evening and welcome to Benin. Pastor Sage Zeyamu has emerged winner of the All Progressives Congress, the APC primary election in Edo State. He polled 27,838 votes to beat Dr. Pius Odubu, who scored 3,776 votes, and Usaze Obaze, who got 2,724 votes. Ogochukuka Ona reports.
The result was announced after the returning officers of the 18 local government areas took turns to present the outcome. Resident Electoral Commissioner, INEC, Edo State, and other officials from Abuja witnessed the announcement.
Before the primaries commenced, we got notice of withdrawal from 2 of the candidates. But in keeping with the provisions of the Electoral Act as amended, we insisted that the election must go on. And the election went on. We here now have the results as collected. In total, between the candidates or aspirants, Dr. Pius Odubu and Osaro Obaze and Pastor Ezeyamu, Osaro Obaze has a total votes of 2,724 votes, while Dr. Pius Odubu has a total votes of 3,776 votes. And Pastor Ezeyamu has a total votes of 27,838 votes. From the reports and the calculation here, Pastor Osage Ezeyamu, who scored a total votes of 27,838 votes, has the highest number of votes cast in the election and is hereby returned a candidate of APC for the forthcoming governorship election in Edo.
The exercise held in the 192 wards across the states. It was with compliance with extant laws prohibiting gathering of more than 20 persons. In Benin, Ogochukuka Ona, NTA News.
Now we have in the studio Pastor Osage Zeyamu, who just emerged candidate of the APC after the primary election held in Benin, in Edo State, sorry. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Now, what are your feelings at this time?
Well, I'm humbled and I give all the glory to God. It's not been easy, but I want to thank God for his faithfulness. I also want to thank the party leadership for a very transparent process. There were fears and apprehension, but I'm happy that the party and our members were able to put in place a system that did not violate the Edo State government's COVID-19 regulation. I also want to thank those who contested with me. My brother, Dr. Pius Odubu, we are from the same local government. I want to appreciate him. I know he means well for the state, and I hope that we'll be able to work seriously together. I also want to thank Osaro Obaze, the man from Oredo, my brother. I also express my hands of love to him. I believe we'll work together. And of course, it's just, for me, an opportunity to thank all APC members. We've been having a series of problems, but I've always said that the expiration date will be when we finish our nomination. And I haven't done that. I think it's time to reconcile. It's time to come together. It's been a harrowing experience for many of the members, but thank God that overwhelmingly they have chosen to support me, and I want to pledge here and now that I will not betray that trust. I thank the security agencies for a very professional job, the IG, the Inspector General of Police, the DGSSS, and of course the representatives in Edo State, Commissioner of Police, the Director of SSS, for a fantastic job. I thank our royal fathers, especially His Royal Majesty the Oba of Benin, for always preaching peace and telling us that you know, we must not spill blood because we want to run for office. All said and done, it's been a good experience, and I thank God for it.
Now, how would you describe the exercise that just brought you in as the candidate of the party?
I think it was very credible, very smooth. It could have been, the numbers would have been a lot higher, but we were conscious of the COVID-19 regulation. People had thought that we would choose to disobey it, but we didn't want to do that. A law is a law. And the state government haven't said people should not gather above 20. We needed to ensure that at any given time we didn't see that number. So the regulation was, when you are coming, don't go beyond 18, and then by the time you finish, you go back and make sure that all those who are coming in, they wear face masks, make sure that you have running water, make sure you have sanitizers, and we complied with all of them. And to the glory of God, in the 192 wards, no incident of violence, there was no problem, everything went smoothly. And I think it's a very wonderful experience.
Okay, you rightly mentioned earlier that APC is going through some tough times in Edo State. To you, what's the way forward?
Well, I think the whole issue centered on second term or who will take the ticket. Unfortunately, the governor, Governor Obaseki, did not complete the process. For me, he would have gone to appeal if they had issues with the certificate and tried to bring better particulars. I saw on social media he had gone to INEC to tell them to correct his name. I think that is what he would have done. And for me, really, I think he should come back, because we are a family. I made the mistake of leaving before, and I regretted it, but now I'm back, and I don't want to go through that same mistake. I think that now that we have gone through nomination, we all have to just come back together as a family. We'll be talking to ourselves, we'll go through the 18 local governments, and I believe that in the next few weeks, you will see a united and vibrant APC, but be rest assured that this is an APC state, and there's no doubt that we'll win the elections overwhelmingly. I don't see one local government that will lose. I'm very confident that we're going to win overwhelmingly in all the 18 local governments of the state. All
right. Thank you so much for coming on Nationwide.
Thank you.
Pastor Osagie Ezeyamu, just emerged candidate of the APC in Edo State for the September governorship election. Nationwide continues in Abuja with Ruth.
Many thanks, Agatha. Let's look at all the issues away from, the Buhari administration has been given thumbs up by industry experts on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria for facilitating an expanded trade and investment in the country in the last 5 years. Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment Adeni Adebayo, while attributing the gains in the sector, says the federal government is poised to provide more funding for small-scale, medium enterprise and entrepreneurs, as well as manufacturers, to mitigate the economic impact of COVID-19. Let's hear from Lydia Sampson.
Accolades poured in from guests in the studio and via tweets from Nigerians for the present administration's critical reforms over the years, which have enhanced the ease of doing business, encouraged local production and reduced import. To further consolidate on the success so far, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment Adeni Adebayo said the ministry is already engaging the Central Bank of Nigeria for more robust commodity exchange program in the country. Palliatives to cushion the economic impact of COVID-19 on businesses are also to be rolled out soon.
Nigeria has improved on the ease of doing business since the advent of this administration. Since 2017 to 2019, we went up 25 places, and from 2019 to date, we have gone up another 15 places. And that has put us at number 131. I can assure you that by the time the next ranking is done, because of things that we have put in place already, we will go up again.
For both the President, National Association of Nigerian Traders, Ken Ukoha, and Mansour Ahmed, President, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, the land border closure and timely engagement with critical stakeholders for policy formulation have been game changers for the present administration.
Border closure, which was on the 20th of August 2019. And I think that if there is any good thing that has happened to this country, that was one radical decision that the country has taken in life. since I was born that I know. And that was good.
Manufacturers Association was the first to undertake an in-depth study of the potential impact of AFCFTA on the manufacturing sector. Then it was followed by the ministry, I think, and the Office of Trade Negotiation. I believe that you cannot go into policy without, first of all, having a clear idea, a clear understanding of how this policy will pan out.
They have appealed for clear distinction between the goods of legitimate traders and smugglers being held at the land borders, as well as the need for government to reactivate the export credit guarantee scheme to empower Nigerian businessmen and women. In Abuja, Lydia Samson, NTA News.
And marketers are counting their losses as goods worth millions of naira have been destroyed by an inferno that gutted parts of Oba Market, one of the major markets located in the city center in Benin. Obehi Apreze reports that it took the joint efforts of fire services from 7 state and federal government institutions to control the fire.
Despite the collaborative efforts of the state and federal fire services, the Nigerian Army School of Supply, the Nigerian Air Force, the University of Benin, and the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company, who were on ground shortly after the fire started, as well as the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria. The fire, which started from the livestock section, spread to clothing section and parts of the first floor.
So for over 5 hours, we've been trying to combat the fire, and I can see we are making progress from everything.
While some traders managed to salvage their wares, others were not so lucky.
Everything we get, don't burn. So everybody go start from square one. Who the boss we be now with the borrow money to the do market? Everybody know.
As I tell us, now yes, say they say fire there over market, so now I tell them come. As I reach here now, my fire everything don't burn.
The cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained.
As we speak right now, we cannot ascertain what caused it. Number one, there was no NEPA light. There was no light as at the time this occurred. But I must assure you that the state will not relent in investigating the cause of this fire outbreak.
After over 7 hours of rage, the fire was finally put under control. Governor Godwin Obaseki was also at the scene of the incident to gauge the extent of the damage. Meanwhile, the governor has set up an investigative panel made up of the police, the DSS, Oedo Local Government Council, both the state and federal fire services, and the SSA to the governor on emergencies. They are to investigate the cause of the incident and submit their report in 10 days. In Benin, Obehi Apreze, NTA News.
Overview of EFCC achievement in Enugu State. These and more we'll get with Mina as we join her now. Mina?
Good evening and welcome to Enugu. About 150 households stand the risk of losing their homes and sources of livelihood to gully erosion ravaging parts of Obinofia community in Ezagu local government area of Enugu State if urgent interventions do not come their way. Jude Abugu visited the Obinofia gully site and brought back this report.
The about 30 feet deep gully, covering almost 1 kilometer, has cut off more than 50 households, denying them access to their homes and farmlands, while over 100 others stand a risk of being submerged due to heavy flow of water in the gully during rainy season.
Our children cannot go to school. This is a modern primary school. Look at the deepness of it. The children cannot access it. The women that is the attentive women, the pregnant women, they can't go to hospital.
It cannot enter in your house. You park around other area to enter your house.
Some of the community leaders told NTA News that the gully is as a result of an abandoned federal government road project which was intended to link the community with Enugu-Onitsha Expressway.
The consultant company that building road that diverted the erosion from Woody to my community.
The agrarian community depends on its rich farm produce for the survival of the inhabitants. However, they regret that food production is gradually coming to a halt. This is the community's daily market, where members of this community bring their farm produce to sell. But today it is an abandoned market due to the threat of this gully erosion. Also in front of me is the community's modern primary school, a government school where the pupils have also stopped coming to school due to this threat of this gully erosion. From Obinofia in Ezagu local government area of Enugu State, Jude Abubu, NTA News.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has charged youths in the country to embrace positive, legitimate source of livelihood and avoid financial crimes. Head of the EFCC Zonal Office, Ibrahim Baba, gave this advice during an overview of the Commission's achievements in Enugu State. Amici Pius reports.
Was established in 2003, it's a known fact that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has made remarkable strides in its war against financial crimes in the country. Through its zonal offices, the Commission has made huge monetary and asset recoveries running to billions of naira, as well as secured convictions. According to the head of the EFCC in Enugu Zonal Office, who was represented at the briefing, 113 convictions were successfully concluded with over 400 million naira recovered by the agency between January and June this year.
All right, that's the much we can take on Nationwide at this time. Let's join the daily briefing by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19.
$442 cases. By May 16th, 2020, barely a month, the figures had risen to 5,621 cases. And by June 16th, another month thereafter, 2020, we had on our records of confirmed cases 17,148 cases. By today, we have on record, like I said in my earlier paragraphs of my remarks, over 20,000 reported cases. We really have a choice to make. And there is an urgency of yesterday in our choice. As part of our collaboration with the states, the Presidential Task Force team made up of the DG, Nigeria Center for Disease Control, and the WHO representative visited Plateau, Edo, Lagos, and Akwa Ibom states to assess the state of preparedness and control. The visit further gives us the confidence that subnational governments are also taking the necessary actions to ensure that this fight is speedily won. I commend our state governors who have been responsive and responsible in taking up the task of sustaining the containment of COVID-19 in their states. The DG would, I believe, in his remarks, give you updates as to their findings and the encouraging news that they got and what they saw on ground during the course of their visit. On Saturday, 28th June 2020, we received the first batch of equipment supplies under the One UN Basket Fund and the European Union. These supplies included personal protection equipment, testing kits, and laboratory equipment. I want to use this opportunity to thank the partners of the One UN Basket and to look forward to receiving the second batch of these supplies. Their commitment greatly shows that partnership is the most important ingredient needed to overcome this pandemic globally. I similarly wish to thank the World Health Organization for the donation of oxygen concentrators, which has become very vital for case management. Also over the weekend, The Rotary Club International District 9125, a long-standing partner in the fight against polio disease, made a donation of essential materials worth over 10 million naira to support the fight against COVID-19. This gesture is also very much appreciated. The Presidential Task Force is pleased to express its appreciation to the National Association of Resident Doctors, NAD, for demonstrating the spirit of patriotism and understanding by calling off the industrial action its members embarked upon. Abiding by the Hippocratic oath further gives us comfort that we would win this fight. On the part of government, we would continue to ensure the welfare and safety of all workers will never be neglected. As we pursue the community engagement and risk communication strategy, the Presidential Task Force has identified lack of information about case definition protocols, location of testing centers, inability to reach call centers as obstacles to getting needed help. The Presidential Task Force has therefore directed that more awareness be created on the location of testing centers and how to get tested, especially when you fit the case definition. The call centers are also being re-energized for responsiveness. Our messaging on risk communication and compliance by the public will also receive very strong attention. We must develop a national wave of awareness creation to drive home our objectives. I therefore urge Nigerians to make use of these facilities and get tested. Similarly, I implore us not to be afraid of undertaking the COVID-19 tests. Testing positive for COVID-19 is not a death sentence, but failure to test, especially when symptoms are evident, could result to death, as it may be too late once the symptoms become full-blown. The loss of any Nigerian is not only painful, but most avoidable provided we seek early help. The Presidential Task Force is also not unmindful of the possibility of imports, especially through our land borders. For this reason, our men and women of the Nigeria Immigration Service remain vigilant, and this has resulted in the apprehension of 2 foreigners who tried to enter the country illegally over the weekend. This commendable effort is appreciated by men and women who are working tirelessly to ensure that they safeguard our borders and our territories from further importation of the virus. The declaration of Nigeria as polio-free nation last week is a welcome development, and we congratulate all those that participated in the long-drawn battle to rid Nigeria of the disease. This declaration is a signal that overcoming COVID-19 and indeed any other infectious disease is possible and shall be achieved. We use this opportunity to renew our call to the medical practitioners and hospitals not to neglect other diseases and ailments because of COVID-19. Finally, let me remind everyone that wearing your mask properly, observing social distancing, washing your hands, and avoiding large gatherings are critical to saving lives, including yours. Observe them religiously. I now have the honor to call on the Honorable Minister of Health, the DG, Nigeria Center for Disease Control, and the National Coordinator to update you on progress made and any other new issues. I thank you for listening.
The Secretary to the Government of Federation and Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 Response, all ministers here present, the National Coordinator, Director General, Directors, Permanent Secretaries, ladies and gentlemen, I shall be re-echoing a lot of what the Secretary to the Government of the Federation has said, particularly in relation to the health sector. The confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria surpassed the 20,000 mark over the weekend, reaching 20,244 between yesterday and today. We also saw the highest number of daily diagnosed new cases last Thursday at 745, but over the past 24 hours, 436. While the overall trajectory was predicted as the course of events explained both by increased community transmission and rising testing capacity, it is a reminder that we must not only not let down our guards, but begin to re-strategize on additional measures of getting control of the situation. This will not be the sole responsibility of government, but of all citizens, individually and collectively. It is also the prime feature of the National COVID-19 Health Sector Response Action Plan of the Federal Ministry of Health, which tries to map a near, medium, and long-term health sector response strategy to the challenge across all areas of health over the next 3-year period. The plan is to be presented at the National Council of Health and applied to states for the development of state-specific action plans to address state peculiarities. As at yesterday, 6,879 persons in total had been treated for COVID-19 and discharged, while 518 in total have sadly been lost, with 96 persons in just the past week. Total samples tested are 113,575. Active cases are 12,847. Our case fatality rate is 2.55%. The experience we're making suggests that some of the fatalities recorded in our country may possibly have been saved if they had arrived designated treatment centers early enough. It is also emerging that the clinical condition of COVID-19 patients, especially the elderly and those with underlying illnesses, which we call the vulnerable, can change from mild to critical within such a short time that patients hardly have time to seek hospital care. I therefore again advise all hospitals to have the right index of suspicion and recognize and promptly refer suspected cases to designated treatment centers. Attempting to treat COVID-19 positive patients when not so accredited wastes their time, puts them in danger, and also puts all others involved at risk, including the innocent, other patients, staff, and personnel. I also advise persons with symptoms and those with underlying diseases, particularly also the elderly, to check into an isolation center for observation if diagnosed. This could save your life. Though up to 80% of cases can be asymptomatic, it helps to also bear the known common symptoms in mind, these being fever, cough, sore throat, runny nose, difficulty in breathing. Additional signs can be headache, diarrhea, nausea, and fatigue. While symptomatic treatment can be vital in preventing complications, close clinical observation in the center early enough can be decisive. The National Association of Resident Doctors, who embarked on strike a week ago, have happily suspended their industrial action following continuous dialogue, constructive engagement, and response to grievances that were tabled, like payment of hazard and inducement allowances and provision of personal protective equipment. In connection with that, we are happy to say that Nigeria received a large consignment of medical supplies on Saturday, the first of a series of deliveries from the United Nations Group in Nigeria and the European Union, which several ministers were on hand to receive at the airport on behalf of the federal government. The donation is very reassuring to us because we can now make up our stockpile, and it is made up of a large number of various categories of personal protective equipment and 547 oxygen concentrators, courtesy of the World Health Organization, which our experience in Nigeria shows are more in use than ventilators. The Federal Ministry of Health particularly appreciates this addition to our case management assets, and we thank all the donors through the resident coordinator of the UN family in Nigeria, Mr. Edward Callon. I was invited to visit the 063 Nigeria Air Force Hospital last Friday to inspect the COVID-19 observation and treatment center there, a modern 25-bed center with facilities for managing mild and severe cases. An additional 200-bed hostel has been prepared as a backup isolation center in case of overspill. The center will complement the treatment centers in the Federal Capital Territory, which are able to handle isolation type 2 and 3 cases. I must commend the Defense Headquarters and the leadership of the Nigeria Air Force for the offer of support in the fight against COVID-19. The Air Force already supports the Federal Ministry of Health with mission flights to various parts of Nigeria. Departing from COVID-19, on Thursday, the 18th June 2020, the World Health Organization's Africa Regional Certification Commission for Poliomyelitis Eradication announced the pending certification of Nigeria as a polio-free state, an achievement worth celebrating considering that up to 2012 we accounted for about half the polio cases worldwide, and that we missed this distinction narrowly in 2016. The credit for this is due to all tiers of government, to our international partners, community leaders, and above all, the thousands of National Primary Healthcare Development Agency frontline health workers and resource groups. I particularly wish to commend and thank His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari for his interest, his commitment, and his unalloyed support for this program. The certificate will be delivered in August, but it does not mean we are resting on our guards. Our energy is already being redirected to supporting the fight against COVID-19, especially in this community transmission phase with the community support program of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, using the primary healthcare network, primary healthcare center network, and the experienced human resources for health to drive surveillance, community case management, community engagement at grassroots level. I am mindful that in this regard, other health services like routine immunization, antenatal care, care for malaria and other ailments shall be maintained to ensure that our indices do not drop while we still stay polio-free. We must daily be reminded of challenges that COVID-19 poses to Nigeria and to the world, and to further reinforce our resolve to tackle the pandemic. We can reduce case fatality in Nigeria if non-pharmaceutical interventions are adhered to and scaled up, and if we become more proactive in dealing with the cases that we find. We can scale up testing, tracing, treatment, and isolation. And in that regard, we need the cooperation and collaboration of all citizens, but with priority on offering more protection to elderly citizens and those with comorbidities from threat of infection. Thank you for your attention. And I now invite the Director General of NCDC.
Thank you, Honorable Minister for Health, Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Chair of the Presidential Task Force, Honorable Ministers, members of the Presidential Task Force, gentlemen of the press. Thank you very much for the opportunity again. Today we'll present to you some of our findings from a tour around 4 states in Nigeria: Akwa Ibom, Plateau, and Edo states. We went to these 4 states. We started with Plateau on Thursday, Edo on Friday, Akwa Ibom on Saturday, and Lagos on Sunday. The purpose of this trip, as always, is to engage with the leadership of the state governments. A lot of the work that we're doing on this outbreak has to be focused on the states. That's where the outbreak response is driven from. And we always have to go to the states, understand how they're doing, learn from their response, encourage them, and develop new strategies of working together. Also, it's always an opportunity to gain a better understanding of the situation on the ground, the differences in the different approaches in the states, and learn from each other. Firstly, I'd like to really thank the Nigerian Air Force again for their incredible effort. When I say we've gone to 4 states in 4 days, it wouldn't be possible without the support that they have continuously provided to this response. So, in the last few years, we've worked very hard to support every state grow its preparedness and ability to respond to infectious disease outbreaks. Slowly and quietly, we've been training healthcare workers, supporting the setup of emergency operation centers, supporting the deployment of a new surveillance infrastructure, supporting the establishment of new treatment centers. So this COVID outbreak, as difficult as it has been for the country, also provides us an opportunity to drive these developments even further. It's also gratifying to see that many states have learned from lessons in their own response to the outbreak they have faced in the past and use this capacity to respond to the current outbreaks. These investments have helped the response to this outbreak and enabled many states not start from zero. I think the state where this exemplifies it more than any other is in Edo State. Edo State historically has suffered from Lassa fever outbreaks. We all know about that.
But in the midst of that, they've also developed the Rural Specialist Teaching Hospital, one of the premier hospitals that has developed the capacity to respond to infectious diseases. But beyond Irua, we saw and met a very dedicated team at the University of Benin Teaching Hospital led by Professor Baseki at the Stella Obasanjo Hospital in Benin, and really saw a committed set of clinicians that were working very hard, innovatively to deal with the challenge in front of them. But really most gratifying was the leadership of the governor of Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki, in how he had driven this response, personally led EOC meetings every morning to deal with the outbreak, understand the data, and use the data to respond to the outbreak. Another innovative approach we saw in Edo was the inclusion of the Edo diaspora in various universities across the world to help understand how they were responding. So really impressed by the work going on in Edo. Of course, there's a lot of work, a lot of improvement possible, but I think they've gone a long way and we have to encourage them. They've been testing a lot of people, we're getting the results, and we're fairly confident that if they keep pushing as they are, we'll get on top of this outbreak in Edo State. In Plateau, we went primarily also to commission a new treatment center at the Bingham University Teaching Hospital. This treatment center was funded by the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund, which was established a few years ago, and the development of this literally was because of the increased number of Lassa fever cases in Plateau. So these cases of Lassa fever had led us to making a small investment in developing the capacity to treat that. We didn't know that they would need this center for the management of cases of COVID. So that's another example how investments in health preparedness in one area supports health response in another. In Plateau State, we also visited the National Veterinary Research Institute in VOM, one of the historical centers where infection control has been led on the animal side. That is now one of the premier testing centers for a disease that's affecting the health of humans. So this collaboration between the animal and human sectors, as part of our One Health strategy that we've been implementing in Nigeria for many years, again shows you some of the developments that have been happening quietly in the state. So again, very grateful for the leadership of His Excellency Governor Simon Lalong, whose leadership really is driving the response in Plateau State. Well, not finally, but penultimately, we went to Akwa Ibom State. And to be honest, the level of investments by the state government in Akwa Ibom is probably parallel to no other. They've built a brand new treatment center, a brand new lab, a brand new EOC, all with state government resources. So really investing aggressively in public health in a way that probably would not have been fathomable many years ago. But it also shows the level of seriousness that states are now taking this problem with and actually investing money in the response. So we're privileged to go around these new centers, the new lab, new EOC, new treatment center, and really congratulate His Excellency Governor Udom Emmanuel on the investments made in Akwa Ibom. It's very critical and was really gratifying to see states taking responsibility, investing their resources, working with the federal government on this very difficult outbreak. We ended up with Lagos. It was a short visit in Lagos. We were swapping teams. A team was coming back, a new team had taken over. So the visit in Lagos was really to encourage them. The teams have been there for quite a while now to keep pushing and supporting Lagos. So I'd like to conclude by saying that, yes, the states in Nigeria vary by their capacity, by their circumstances, by the realities. But there's a lot of best practice coming out from the various states, how they're leveraging on previous investments, leveraging on federal government institutions, leveraging on the private sector, leveraging on their diaspora in this response. So we're really learning from each other. But really, The part that will stay with me the longest is visits to the treatment centers. I really saw clinicians working extremely hard. My discussion with the clinical leader of the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, who started up the treatment center in that hospital. When he started, he was the only physician with the courage to start. Slowly, other people came on and joined, and I see them working 12, 15 hours in this fight. And really, as tired as we might be in carrying out the things we need to do, we're really encouraged by the courage and the efforts by our clinical leaders. I must say the one area that worried us the most as we traveled around the country is that we still struggle to see sufficient people wearing masks. We still saw gatherings of too many people in a place at a time. And we know that across the country, we're struggling with this. And I really want to encourage all Nigerians. We can't treat our way out of this. We simply can't. We have to prevent. It's the only chance we have. So as we work hard, as we congratulate those treating, we must take responsibility for prevention. It's in our hands. Let's take responsibility collectively to get out of this outbreak. Thank you very much.
The chairman of the PTF, honorable ministers and members of the PTF, gentlemen of the press, good evening. So today I'll be talking about sensitization activities and some of the observations that have arisen from these activities. As you're aware, the government continues to ensure the containment of COVID-19 in the country by equipping Nigerians with life-saving information through multiple platforms. We are grateful to the National Orientation Agency and in particular the DG for their engagement and very strong commitment to the cause of COVID-19. They have developed numerous video and audio awareness jingles on COVID-19 that have been distributed in English, Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Pidgin, and several other languages across both the traditional and the new media channels in all states of the Federation. They have also been working across all 774 local governments in the country, together with us, donor partners, other civil society organizations, and other stakeholders for grassroots sensitization campaigns. Some of the observations that have arisen from these activities include the fact that Nigerians have continued to show persistent and remarkable lack of compliance to COVID-19 prevention protocols, which is quite worrying, really. In the cities where adherence to these protocols were high in the initial 2 weeks of the eased lockdown, progressively over time, citizens are letting down their guards, and this remains of grave concern. There is partial to total non-compliance with face mask and physical distancing protocols by the public, as earlier mentioned by the DG and CDC. Many Nigerians only use their face masks either to avoid security agents, or that is where enforcement exists, or where they are told to do so. There's also significant disbelief in the danger and impact of COVID-19. In parts of the southeast where we did a recent survey, 60% did not believe that COVID was an issue at all. We clearly are not taking the pandemic seriously enough. There are also many myths that continue to exist within the social media platforms, ranging from conspiracy theories to get-rich-quick gains, to claims of treatments by herbal concoctions, etc., all of which appear to be really putting our sensitization efforts at risk. There are, of course, ways that we can mitigate this, and this includes sensitization and awareness creation through a collaborative effort with the other levels of government, collaboration between the PTF and the state task forces in strengthening continuous engagement, training, and distribution of sensitization materials. And this is only one way by which we can continue to try and flatten the curve. It's important that Nigerians continue to observe strictly the hygiene and safety measures approved by health authorities to avoid contracting the virus, especially as community transmission is on the rise. As I said last week, today, now, you are more likely to contract COVID if you go out and do not observe the strict measures that we recommend, far more than when this problem started 3 months ago, simply because of the numbers that we are currently having. We must all join hands to adhere and spread the message of wearing face masks, learn to challenge those that are in public and are not wearing these masks. We will continue to enforce and introduce measures for enforcing some of these measures, particularly for organizations that are responsible, such as shopping malls, etc., that do not take these seriously. We are also working very closely with security agencies as well as the state governments to try and introduce edicts and acts that will enable us to make face masks mandatory, the use of face masks mandatory in the public space. In terms of the state governments, we do have a message for the state governments. First of all, to recognize those states that continue to support the program, that continue to work very closely with the PTF and the task and the rest of the response to make sure that our citizens are kept safe. We would like to thank them for supporting the state emergency operating centers, thank them for providing operational budgets, and also pushing for more testing, because there is no shame in having a positive result in your state. It's much better for you to know the level of COVID infection you have in your state. Denial will only make the issue more difficult, because we cannot run away from the fact that this is a pandemic. If we do not know the true state of the pandemic in your state, not only are you putting your citizens at risk, but you are also putting your own healthcare workers at risk. And if your healthcare workers are at risk and become infected, your entire health system could collapse, and you're going to have a lot more deaths from people that don't even have COVID presenting to these hospitals. So in the long run, it is in the best interest of all of us to make sure that we know the true extent of the pandemic by continuing to push for more tests rather than by trying to avoid testing citizens. Let us accept that COVID is here with us. We need to address it. We need to fight it. And the first step in fighting it is knowing the extent of the problem you have. And I hope we'll continue to work with state governments, all of them, to make sure that we take all the necessary measures to protect our citizens. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, Environment.
Mr. Chairman, members of PTF, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies of the press, good evening. I will simply repeat and reiterate what is happening, but in Hausa, people seem to be taking this lightly, thinking that the lockdown are being eased. Well, big mistake. Jama'a assalamu alaikum. Muna so ne yau mu jaddada akan maganan ilmantarwa da faɗakarwa akan abin da yake faruwa da ita wannan cuta ta corona. Mun lura mutane suna ganin cewa abin yayi sauki ko ta tafi. Mutane sun fara yi maka'idojin da aka gindaya rikon sakainan kashi. To ina so mutane su sani, an wayi gari a cikin ƙarshen wannan makon da ya wuce, adadin mutanen da suka kamu da wannan cuta ya haura 20,000. Amma kafin ma ka san ma'anan wannan haura 20,000 din, mu koma cikin watan 4, wato watan Afrilu 16 ga shi a lokacin waɗanda suka kamu mutum 400 ne da wani abu. A cikin watan Mayu 16 wato bayan wata ɗaya rak, yawan adadin mutanen da suka kamu ya yi tsalle daga 400 zuwa 5,000 da wani abu. Sai kuma daga cikin watan Mayu din zuwa watan Afrilu zuwa watan Mayu sai muka ga kuma wannan adadin ya ƙara yin tsallen baɗake zuwa 17,000. Me wannan yake nufi? Idan muka ci gaba da rashin bi da rashin kula, kenan kowane wata ɗaya adadin waɗanda suka kamu zai ninka kashi 3, kashi 4, kashi 5. Kenan haɗarin da ke tattare da yiwuwan ka haɗu da wanda yake da wannan cuta ka kamu yana ƙaruwa ba kaɗan ba. Kuma idan muka ci gaba da irin wannan, to abubuwan da suke faruwa a waɗansu ƙasashe da muke ji Allah ya kiyaye yana iya zuwa nan. Wannan cutan ba za ta tafi don kanta ba, sai mun yi abin da zai sa ta tafi. Abin kuwa shine ci gaba da bin ƙa'idojin da aka gindaya. Maganan wanke hannu akai-akai da rashin taɓa fuskan kan hannuwanka ba kyau. Maganan ba da wannan tazara da ake magana da dukkan sauran abubuwa. In ma ba ka da abin da za ka yi, kar ka fita zuwa ko ina, kai zaman ka a gida. Wannan koronan tana tare da mu yanzu, kuma zuwa nan da wani tsawon lokaci ya zama wajibi mu koyi zama tare da ita. Dama an ce sanin halin mutum maganin zama da shi. In mun san yadda take yi ta kama mutane, to sai mu guji yanda abubuwan da za mu yi ta kama mu. Kamar yadda aka yi bayani, a ce yau mutum ya kama da cutar corona ba abun kunya ba ne. Abun kunyan shine ka ji alaman ka kamu ka ƙi zuwa asibiti ko ka ƙi zuwa a gwada ka, ka je ka sa ma waɗansu ko da gangan ko cikin kure, in dai har ka ji alaman kana da ita. To jama'a mu sani cewa duk wani abu da za mu yi a yanzu dole mu yi shi da sanin wannan cutar tana nan. Dole mu canza yadda muke rayuwa ba kaman baya ba. Da gwamnatin ƙasa da gwamnatin jihohi suna duk abin da za su yi su taimaka. Me wannan takunkumin yake kare maka da baka son sawa? Iyakacin kare lafiyarka. Saboda haka an ce in kunni ya ji gangan jiki ya tsira. Akwai matsala idan ba mu bi ka'idojin nan ba. Kamar yadda muka gani, cutar na karuwa ne kullum. In mun duba daga 400 a cikin wata 3 kacal, yau muna 20,000 da wani abu. To jama'a, ga mu ga corona, wa muke so mu ga yayi nasara? Mu. Amma fa sai mun tsaya tsayin daka, mun bi ka'idoji, mun bi dokoki. Muna ganin dai abin da yake faruwa a sauran jihohi, a sauran kasashe na duniya. Mu gode ma Allah da kuma yanda gwamnati tashin farko ta yi sauri da azama ta kafa wannan kwamiti da kuma duk matakan da aka ɗauka. Yanzu ya rage namu, nauyi ya dawo wuyan kowa da ya yi ƙoƙari ya kare kanshi domin kare waɗansu. A je a gwada. In ka ji rashin lafiya, zazzabi, a ciwon kai, a ciwon makogaro da duk sauransu alamun koronan nan ana ta faɗi. Da zaran ka ji, ka keɓe kanka, ka je gurin gwaji. Ta haka ne fa za mu taimaki juna don saboda mu kau da wannan cuta daga nan. In ƙara jaddadawa a ƙarshe, tana nan ba ta tafi ba. A ci gaba da sa wannan takunkumin, a ci gaba da wanke hannu, a ci gaba da bada wannan tazara. Duk waɗannan abubuwa waɗanda za su taimake mu in Allah ya yarda mu kwana lafiya.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Environment. That brings us to the question session. If we're ready, we'll take your questions now. If you are watching from home, you can send your WhatsApp question to 07053536666. Your comments or your questions. If we cannot take it today, we'll factor them into our responses later. We'll take the questions now.
Mr. Chairman, members of the task force, my colleagues, good afternoon. My name is Nancy Oyedia Orum from AIT. I want to start with the Minister of Health. So this morning there was a protest by sample collectors and some other health frontline workers like drivers who convey COVID-19 patients to the isolation centers. Now the crux of their agitation is that they have not been paid their inducement and hazard allowance since they started working. But they were only paid in March. That of April and May have not been paid. That is their daily allowance of 20,000 naira. Now when they started, they were camped in a hotel. Because of the nature of COVID-19, how dangerous it is, they do not want them to go back home and infect their families. But as we speak, they have been injected, they have been kicked out of the hotel as we speak. And this is coming at a time where we are yet to meet our target of testing 2 million people in 3 months. I want to know why these people have not been paid. And there were also some people who also met me, and they have the same agitation. I think they are the port health workers. They also have the same agitation. So I want you to react to this. And the second question is still to you, Minister of Health. I was listening to a radio program last week, not year, sorry. And the guest that was brought on one of the program, which is I think he's the chairman of the medical subcommittee on COVID-19 in the FCT. And he made a claim that for every patient, for every COVID-19 patient in the isolation center in the FCT, the federal government is spending 1.7 million naira to treat that COVID-19 patient, whoever has spent 14 days in isolation. So I want to know how true this is. And finally, to Mr. Chairman, well, last week, the PTF marked 3 months since its inception by President Muhammadu Buhari. Of course, we know that these 3 months, yes, increased testing, but we cannot shy away from saying that these 3 months, we've also had so many cases that have arisen from COVID-19. A lot of Nigerians also flouting some of the guidelines as stipulated by health experts, interstate movement, same thing. I want to know, in the 3 months that is coming, I want to know what strategy that you will be coming up with that will change some of these narratives. Thank you.
The Chairman, National Coordinator, Honorable Ministers, DG, and members of the task force, my colleagues. My name is Amaka Ode. I report for Arise News. My first question actually goes to the Minister of Health. Well, so some medical experts are claiming that our fatality that we're seeing these days that is actually related to the home care, which you have told us that as it stands right now, we have about 80% of our confirmed cases being treated at home. They're saying that these people who are isolating at home are not checked, and also they're not getting the kind of medication they need. So I need to hear from you. Walk us through the process involved in home isolation. How many times are these people being checked, and what sort of treatment are they being given, and by who? And the next question actually is for the DG of the NCDC. Well, sir, from last week, we've seen some states come out to claim that they've been able to discharge all their confirmed cases from the isolation centers, and they have no more cases. So I want to get from the NCDC, how many states in Nigeria are COVID-19 free, aside from Cross River, that your record is still showing? And the next question is for the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. Well, NPAR beneficiaries, they have reached out to me a couple of times. They said they haven't been paid their money for the past 3 months, and they want to know why and when they will be paid. And finally, to the chairman as well as the national coordinator, any one of you can take this up. Well, Nigerians want to know, with all the funds that you have in your coffers, how much are you dedicating to homegrown solutions to COVID-19? Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the Presidential Task Force, my colleagues and Nigerians at home. My name is Mitaire Ikwen. I report for the Nigerian Television Authority. My first question is for the DG of the NCDC. Some Nigerians want to know how you can relate the result for the gene expert machine initially configured to test for tuberculosis, which is a bacterial infection, to conclude for the presence of coronavirus, which is a viral infection. And for the Minister of Health, the PTF keeps advising anyone with COVID-19 symptoms like coughing, sneezing, and headache, as the case may be, to present themselves for testing. Now, with the peculiarities of the wet season, a plethora of these symptoms, people come up with a lot of these symptoms. Now, if everyone with such symptoms present themselves for testing, do we have the capacity to test and isolate them all? And for the chairman of the PTF, a lot of audiovisual materials have been circulating on social media, alluding to conspiracy theories and also encouraging skepticism about the pandemic. In fact, over the weekend, one of them that was trending, even up till now, is that of a Ghanaian that was reading a script that was talking about the timeline of the pandemic. And there's the tendency to believe such scripts because of what has played out so far and what is likely to play out. And I'm asking, what is the reaction of the PTF to such materials, considering the fact that they could impact negatively on risk communication and believability of the pandemic? Thank you.
Good evening all. Rachel Abuja from the News Agency of Nigeria, and my first question is to the coordinator. Sir, most states and the FG have eased down lockdown, and we're experiencing a spike, obviously, in the country. Aside of the possibility of another lockdown, what are the other options open that the government will be looking at? Meanwhile, we've all said a lot about masks, and I want to relate not just all Nigerians having masks, but let's relate it to the effectiveness of wearing a mask. So let's apply science to it. I don't know if we are looking at having like some sort of programs, maybe a long program using every medium for Nigerians to understand the effectiveness of wearing a mask or having a mask, because we are all guilty of it as it is now. My next question is to the DG NCDC. Welcome back, sir. Did you not tell us that the 4 states had any challenges? I'm surprised. So, how effective has the contact tracing been in helping to develop the response so far? I would like to know. Meanwhile, our fatality rate in the country remains 2.6 to 3%, which the numbers of confirmed cases keep increasing. Does this mean that we are doing good, or we are not reporting all cases? I don't know. I would like to know. Sir, I would like you to answer this question, please. I would like to know if there's anything you're doing to reduce our turnaround time for COVID-19 tests from maybe to 6 or 12 or against the 48 hours. This would do us a great deal because of for health, facilities to attend to critical ill patients in the country. More so, I would like to know how many sample collections we have in the country as of today, because there have been a lot of complaints during the weekend, and the total number they've not been going through, and even when they go, people keep waiting, and at the end of the day, they don't get to see NCDC in their state or their locality. Many thanks.
My name is Hassan Umar Farouk. I report for Liberty Radio and Television. The first is commendation, sir. Mr. Chairman, coronavirus pandemic is a test of leadership. You and your team are doing good. This is from a patriotic Nigerian. Minister of Aviation, Minister of Environment, sir, any update from the ongoing nationwide fumigation? And in Hausa, sir, ba maganan cewa mutane suke ba wai cewa an sassauta wannan doka. Har yanzu fa akwai mutanen da ba su yadda ba akwai wannan cuta ba. Dalilin su shine ba su taba ganin wanda yake halin rabbana atina an nuna shi a TV. Mu muna sauraron wannan mutane kullum muna yin programs a TV da radio suna ga mana cewa su har yanzu fa ba wanda aka nuna kamar yadda suke gani a kasashen duniya. Me za ka kara game da musamman a arewacin kasar na yadda mutane ke ci gaba da samun dar da kuma shakku cewa wannan cuta akwai ta ko babu ita? Minister of Aviation, sir, there is this fear from Nigerians that if flights eventually resumes, that they are going to pay double. They are going to pay for those empty seats that are meant for social distancing in this flight. How true is this assertion, sir? Akwai tsoro da cewa in Najeriya duk lokacin da aka dawo harkar zirga-zirgar jiragen sama, da girma minista 'yan Najeriya za su biya kuɗin tikitin jirgin sama da ɗan karen tsada. Ya lafiyar giwa bare ta yi zazzabi a cikin wannan lokaci a ce za a yi haka. Menene gaskiyar wannan tunani na 'yan Najeriya? Thank you very much, sir.
Good evening, the SGF honorable ministers, my colleagues. My name is Rahila Lassa. I report for Voice of Nigeria. My first question goes to the SGF. So the National Petroleum Investment Management Service says that the federal government has given it approval to reduce 40% of its workers because of the effect of COVID-19. This was confirmed when the affected workers met with some media organizations, and the management of NAPIMS also confirmed that. I want to know how true this is. Secondly, my question is for the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Over the weekend, we saw the demolition of the Nigeria's High Commission in Ghana. Beyond the condemnation, the letters or whatever, what again or what else are you doing or the government is doing to ensure that this does not happen again? Thank you.
Good afternoon, good evening, members of the PTF. My name is Juliana Taiwo Baloyen of the Sun newspapers. Minister of Education, sir, this is for you from a concerned parent. He said the same day that PTF advised schools should not resume was the same day that Oyo State government released resumption date. And he said on that same week, a report of 100 index case was recorded in one day in Oyo. He wants to know what your ministry is doing to convince the governor of Oyo State to halt resumption date. This one is for you, Minister of Health. Despite assurances from the PTA, some Nigerians still don't believe that there is any collaboration going on between the ministry, NCDC, and some primary health centers. So they want to know if you can give us a list of these centers you are collaborating with. Thank you.
Good evening, all. Abbas Adebawale Juma is my name from Daily Trust. The first question is for the NCDC DG. The Kano and Lagos State government announced that they will authorize home treatment for those who have tested positive to the COVID-19. So Nigerians want to know if you've sanctioned that for them, or there is another variation you want them to apply. The second question is for the chairman, sir. The national coordinator just mentioned it now that Nigerians still don't believe in the COVID-19. It's only when they go to the security designated centers that they pull the face mask from their pockets or their bags. And there are messages sent to our offices that the way they are seeing this happening to other countries, including the Brazil that you mentioned, they didn't have any feeling of it happening in Nigeria. So they are now requesting if there can be some kind of guided reportage of the various treatment centers so that Nigeria can see it that is happening to their own citizens. And they said